Hi, I am Kay Cote, your Business Spotlight series host today, and I am with Matt Waters, founder of DI Retail. Today, we're going to be talking with Matt about what it's really like to be a business owner and his journey through that experience, as well as the challenges to business ownership, best practices, and more. If this is your first time on our channel, feel free to like and subscribe to get more episodes dropped just like this one. So, hi, Matt. It's nice to have you today. How are you? I'd love to learn a little bit about you and your business.
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, feel free to share about you and your business, DI Retail.
I've been in it's the POS industry, which is the point of sale industry, retail. I've been in that industry for the past 32 years, and over the past 4 years, I've created IDI Retail and decided to, take the leap and go on my own, as opposed to working for corporations, which I have done, which are global corporations that cover the globe. So yeah, that's the brief intro to me.
That is incredible. Well, I love to sit down and talk with entrepreneurs. And so I'd love to hear about what does your role in ownership kind of look like right now? Are you the sole owner? Do you have other partners, other investors involved? What's kind of that side of the business?
Currently, the landscape of my business is I am the sole owner. I don't have any current partners or investors. But having said that, that's not something that I wouldn't look at in the future. But where I sit at the moment, yeah, I'm just the sole owner.
And do you have employees in your business? And if so, how many?
I don't, it's just me, myself, and I. I do have a varied and wide scope of supply chain, and I utilize the um, staff within those supply chains to assist me in
Okay.
my day to day.
Oh, okay, perfect. That I was curious to how the runnings were of the business. So you're utilizing those relationships. So
Yep.
what would you say your business structure looks like for your day to day? Like how many hours are you working in your business and then how many on your business?
In my business, probably around 8 to 12 a day, variable. And actually working on projects, that's probably about 70% of the time. And the other 30% of the time is business running um, practices, with VAT invoicing, etc. So that whilst that doesn't generate revenue, it's something that you have to do. And I have to
Mhm.
set aside time for that on a daily basis.
That's very true. So take me through a day in the life of you and your business. What does that look like?
So I generally start in the morning and the first thing that I do is I touch base with all of my suppliers, um, catch up where we are on projects, what's required, and when things are coming through. And then straight after that, it's into all of my clients and
Hmm.
feeding that information through to my clients. Usually after that, new briefs that have come in get processed. Excuse me. Um, they get processed and then sent out to the relevant suppliers. Then I have that period where I fit in any business communications that are required in terms of, you know, purchase orders, invoicing, chasing payments, etc., VAT, and then that takes me through to the, you know, probably mid afternoon, and then after that I go back round and start again. So back into the suppliers, see where they are with everything, and then feed back into my clients with the relevant updates.
That sounds like a busy day to day. I'd like to dive into kind of what makes your business special. Like, if I was a client searching for your business, how would I know if I was a good fit for you?
So my business is anything and everything to do with retail displays. So that work generally comes from brands. So any brands that are going into any retail stores that they want to display their products on, that's the sort of business that I work on. That's the day-to-day bread and butter. On top of that, there is also, like some brands will have their own stores. So then we can go into store fits, revamps, etc. So there are many facets to what I do, as well as, some of my clients utilize me as a consultant.
Mm.
So they give me a brief on what they're aiming to do, and then I give them, consultancy on how the best practices are to do that, and which way round they can go to do that. And that can even be introduction to retailers as well, that they may have not done in the past.
That is very cool. I think about that. I actually used to have a t-shirt company and I would have loved your services. And I think that's like really cool that you're adding that value of the consulting with these brands. And that could be like a whole nother aspect to your business that really sets you apart.
Mhm.
Um, so kind of looking at your competitors, how do your competitors compare with you and what kind of gives you that edge amongst your
So
competitors?
a traditional manufacturer, in the same way that I work, doesn't generally give the same services that I do. They are straight out, a brief comes in, they design, develop, produce, deliver.
Hmm.
So there's not real, they do add value. I'm not going to downplay them. They do add value, but they don't generally give a consultative approach the way that I do. And they may be a sole manufacturer, so they'll manufacture everything, so they will produce it to the best what they want. Whereas I work with over 230, 235 suppliers worldwide, so I can select the right supplier for that project, which gives you an added facet because you're now working as you want to work and not as a factory wants to work.
Oh, definitely. It's like that added bonus that kind of really can be an like a value to them. That's a really great. I what is one thing that people like you wish people knew about your business that they maybe don't?
Um, I wish they would. The utopia is for clients, brands, retailers to understand that I am so different to the traditional methods,
Hmm.
in a sense that I have a wider scope and I am very flexible. And generally, when a supplier stands in front of a client, they are sales and they may know snippets of the industry and how things are manufactured, but I know from A to Z because I've actually worked from the industry from the bottom to the top. And then I spent another 8 years, 8 to 10 years in procurement.
Hmm.
So I've got that facet on top of that as well.
Hmm.
So looking at it from the outside in, if brands, retailers, and clients could see that, they would automatically know it's more beneficial to work with a company of my stature as opposed to the traditional.
Oh, definitely. That leads me perfectly into my next series of questions, which is all around marketing and how you're getting yourself out there and getting in touch with these brands, getting in touch with your clients. So I'm curious, like, have you put time into a marketing budget? And if so, how much of the percentage are you investing into your marketing per month?
In a short word, no. In a marketing sense, my business has been built on my reputation and my knowledge of brands, retailers, and such like that I've worked with over the years.
Hmm.
Um, I do I do advocate word of mouth and recommendations that
Hmm.
you can't get better than those anywhere at all. And I do tend to use a lot on LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
So if I do any marketing, it would be via LinkedIn. Um,
Okay.
so I did at one time have a web page, but I wasn't happy with it, so I've shut that down. But in the next 12 months, I will have another web page up and running, which will be more suitable and more easier for people to locate me and find me.
Definitely. Gotta love that word of mouth. I feel like that's such a, especially with your industry too. It's like people are seeing the work you've done
Mhm.
and then utilizing the LinkedIn. When it comes to organizing your contacts, the people you work with, whether it be your clients, just anybody, do you utilize a CRM or any sort of structure around keeping people organized?
Um, Currently, no. The only thing that I really use at the moment is Excel spreadsheet, being honest. Um, it works, and because it's only me currently, it's very
Hmm.
easy to do. But yes, as my business grows and I bring in employees, etc., and the employees will be in various different countries. They won't necessarily all be in the country that I live and run the business from.
Hmm.
So then a CRM system will definitely be introduced.
Definitely. Well, I love that we've been able to dive into kind of the meat and potatoes of your business. And now I'd like to hear a little bit about you. You were in, you had mentioned you were in working for other people and now you're doing this. What has that experience been like? What kind of sparked you to go into business for yourself?
So in the industry, I started in the industry about 32 years ago and I started working on the shop floor. So when I say I know A to Z, that's because I've done A to Z. So on the shop floor, so all the machinery that's used to manufacture the goods that I produce, I've worked hands-on, and I've ran factories, um, supervised on the shop floor. I've gone into the office. I've been an estimator, the head of estimating, project manager, head of project manager, client services, head of client services, sales manager, sales director. And
Mhm.
then obviously I took that to the level of procurement and did procurement for 8, 10 years, um, and everything that goes with procurement. And it's such a broad spectrum, knowing that you have to deal with, modern slavery, um, bribery and corruption. And this, we're working with blue chip clients across the world. They need to know that you're on top of this and you're monitoring, you're auditing supply chains,
Mhm.
and you're going through the motions that need to be done. So, having done all of that, moving from that to running my own business was sort of like a natural progression, coupled with the fact that in procurement, I did get to a point where I was making so much money for the business and saving the clients so much money. It sort of like turned me to say, well, I can do this for myself.
Mhm. Oh, that's cool. How was that moment for you? Was it like an aha moment or was it like something you thought about over time and were like, "Oh, okay, I could do this."
I'd pre The company that I worked for before I'd started my own business. I actually had my own business at a very small level prior to that, and they subcontracted me in as a consultant. And it was only for a 3 month period in France. And I went and worked in Paris for 3 months as a consultant. And at the end of that period, they offered me a full-time job. So I was very strong with my negotiation on my package because I already had a business and they wanted me. So, and when I went into that, I went into it what eyes wide open that, I'd already had my own business, albeit that it was a small level. And then I was now going back to work for somebody, but it was in a different field, still in the same industry, but a different field. And it was something that I felt would benefit me in the future for going back to running my own business. And procurement was like the last piece of the jigsaw.
Mhm.
And I did it for 8, 10 years, and it was a eureka moment. I was in Dubai and I'd just saved the client 7 million and made the business 5 in a 2 week period. And that was the eureka moment for me to say, I need to now do this for myself again.
That is so powerful and inspiring because I love those moments for business owners when you're like, "Whoa, this is it." And you see the
Mm,
fruit of it and you're like, "I can do something with this."
yeah.
So, seeing you had this eureka moment, you had this, I'd love to kind of dive into what is a challenge you faced within having your own business, something, a hurdle, a roadblock, something that you overcame, and how did you overcome it? And how did that help you grow as a business owner?
So I'm going to say the word that most people tend to want to forget now, and that's COVID. I started my business just before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my Herculean task to get over. And it was literally my business died overnight. But having said that, with me being in procurement and procuring goods globally and in every sort of field, I automatically switched to selling PPE. And
Okay.
that was gloves and masks. And that's what kept my business alive.
Wow.
And outside of COVID, it was the industry's awareness of me now as a business that was the other challenge to overcome. But that
Mhm.
was just me to get over that. That was me putting myself out there, day in, day out, um, even weekends, and letting people know this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at. Give me a call, drop me a line, let me help you out with the projects that you have.
Mhm. Mm. Just like that basic outreach. That
Yeah.
is powerful. Like it's so inspiring because you were able to pivot and go into, selling what needed to be sold at that time to stay in business. And that kind of leads me to, looking forward at the future. What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for you in business?
Um, the next 3 to 5 years are growth, sustainable growth, obviously, because we can all grow very fast. That is not sustainable. So I'm very selective in who I work with, because I need solid foundations with whoever I work with. Otherwise, it's never going to be sustainable and the relationship is going to fail. So you've
Mhm.
got to have that common ground, that solid foundation to build on. So at the moment, uh, my key um, task is to seek out those clients, those brands that I want to work with, those retailers, and set that groundwork, those foundations for the future.
That's really good. Like concepts and things that you're working on. I'd like to know, how are you going to make those goals happen? What's your approach to goal setting?
Goal setting is, setting realistic targets. You know, we can we can all set a target that's unachievable, and if it's unachievable, well, it shouldn't have been set in the first place. So, you know, small incremental growths
Hmm.
on a regular basis, um, and target them and monitor them on a regular basis too. Because if things are going off track and you've not monitored it, it will go away from you too far that you can never bring it back. Whereas if it's constant
Hmm.
monitoring of what you're doing, um, you know, you have a pathway, you have a goal. If it's not working to get to that goal, you can always amend and adjust and diversify, pivot, to make that goal still happen. But if you're not monitoring, that's where you can't do that. And before you
Mm,
know it, the goal's out of reach.
definitely. Well, this has been a great episode. It's been a great, just like to hear how your business has grown, how you've overcome things. And I recommend any listeners out there, take a listen to this a couple of times. You're going to find some little wisdom nuggets throughout. But before we wrap up, I would love to dive into a little series of rapid fire questions. These
Okay,
are just very quick answers, top of mind. There's four questions. And are you ready to get started with some rapid fire?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Our first question is: what is a key to success for you?
Cost, quality, and service.
Love that. Clear and concise. If you had one piece of advice for other business owners, what would it be?
Believe in yourself.
Hmm. Oh, that's a good one too. What is a book, podcast, any piece of content that you've taken in recently that's impacted you?
Touching the Void, a book. It's by Joe Simpson, co-written with Simon Yates. It's about two men that almost died. Well, one that almost died climbing down a mountain in the Peruvian Andes.
Oh, wow.
I am a mountain climber.
Oh, that's great. But okay, where I have to ask, where have you climbed?
Kilimanjaro, um, the Matterhorn, Mont Blanc, pretty much most of the mountains in the UK.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Our final rapid fire question: if you had to choose only one area of your business to rapidly improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Having the ultimate client base.
Hmm. That is a good goal too, or that is awesome. So before we get to our final question for today, I'd love to share how can people find you? Let's build that client base. How can people find you? Feel free to share your website, any contact info here.
LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Matt Waters, or IDI Retail Consultancy and Design Ltd.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Matt. For our final question for today, what is the most inspiring to you today?
Technology integration into display units.
I dig that too. Well, thank you so much, Matt. It has been a pleasure doing this interview today. And I wish you the best in all of your pursuits.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.